Hello YouTube, this is T2 Mommy and I'm Amanda, by the way. Today we're going to go over what we used for first grade for homeschooling this year. A little bit about us. I was a elementary school teacher for about a little over 10 years, and then I decided to, once my girls got in school, I realized what was happening, and there was things I didn't like and things I wanted for my kids, and so I decided to come home and homeschool. So I started at Christmas. So part of these did not get finished, and then some of it stuff I just pieced together just so I'd make sure and cover, you know, some things in that subject. So I'm just going to go subject by subject and tell you what we used this year, what I thought about it. And I've got my youngest will be starting kindergarten next year, so kind of if I'm planning on using it for her when she's in first grade or not. So thanks. Okay, so for our Bible this year we used Positive Action Bible Curriculum, and I did get the K4 preschool so that my youngest could do it with us. So this is my first graders, and this has 40 lessons in it, and so each lesson has 3 parts to it. So we did 1 part each day, and we had been doing this while my oldest was still in school. So for this, there's some cut and paste activities, there's some like mazes, tracing, coloring, just different stuff that we covered as we went through the story. And so next year we are going to do the kindergarten curriculum, and I'll show you that when I do our second grade. But I got the kindergarten so that my youngest can do it with us, and with Bible stories, I think it's good for them to hear those over and over again. And the activities may be a little young for my oldest, but we all enjoy it. Okay, so next I'm going to go over language arts. So this is what we used for writing this year, and I knew I didn't want anything too heavy just because we were starting in January and I didn't want to have to stop in the middle. So we are using something else for writing next year, so I'll show you that later. So this year we just used the Evan Moore Daily 6-Trait Writing. It was very simple. We didn't get through, I think, the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks of it, but it just goes through the 6 traits. So you have the ideas and organization, word choice, I know sentence fluency is one. There's sentence fluency, voice, and conventions, I think, is the last one. So we didn't make it through this. We didn't get to voice. I think we did all the rest of them, but they do have these for all different kinds. They have daily handwriting, phonics, academic vocabulary, which we may get into some of the editing, paragraph editing. We might do that one year. Language review. I've used a lot of these when I taught in public school because they were good, just practice. And then with that I just got her a primary notebook. So on Fridays in that, it would give some kind of topic that they needed to work on that kind of went from other stuff that they had been working on that week. So they kind of took whatever they had done in week 4 and then wrote about it, and then that way she could draw a picture. So this is something she's still going to be working through this summer, because writing is a difficult skill, and so I want her to keep practicing that. Next we have my favorite, All About Reading. And All About Reading, we are on level 2. And we are almost done. We have, I think, 4 lessons left, but we are going to finish those over the summer. This has 57 lessons in it, I believe. On the next page. Yes, 57. So there's 57 lessons. We tried to do 3 a week. Next year, at the beginning of 2nd grade, we'll be starting on level 3, and I'm only going to do 2 lessons a week, and that will still get us done with, I think, about 8 or 9 weeks left to go. So we'll probably start level 4 towards the end of her 2nd grade year. This comes with the teacher manual, and then there's a student activity guide, but ours is gone because we've already used all the stuff out of it. And then it comes with 2 readers. When I first bought it, obviously, it was still the black and white version, but I went ahead and ordered the color readers because I think they're so pretty. So, but she's made so much growth with this. She was reading on grade level according to public schools, but she's reading chapter books now, and I'm just amazed, and I'm thrilled with the growth that she's made with this just since Christmas. And then for spelling, we did spelling. You see, this does have 36 weeks worth of work in it, so I didn't make her do the part 1 book since it was halfway through 1st grade, and we just started with part 2. So, and she went through all of this. Now, she did not do any kind of spelling in school. There was no spelling test, there was no spelling list, so she had no prior experience with studying spelling words or learning how to spell or memorizing or anything like that. So this has been a big thing to get her to practice spelling and learning how to sound out those words and stretch out those sounds to hear how to spell these words. So I really like this. I'm looking forward to level C. We are going to do level C, and it's on animals, but I think the first 8 or 9 weeks is they're redoing like the last few nursery rhymes that's in this one. So they'll be reviewing stuff that they've already done if they've done the previous unit. So I do like that. Alright, next we're going to talk about math. Our core math is Matthew C, and we are doing alpha this year. Again, I mean, it's 30 units plus 4 unit tests and then a final test. So it would have been impossible to do every single bit of this unless I just made her do like a full unit every 3 days. So what we did the first, I want to say maybe the first 15 units straight through, and then since she'd already had half of 1st grade, I felt like she was pretty good on addition and subtraction, so I let her do like the final test, and if she made 100 on it, then we just kind of bumped on up to the next one. And I know this is mastery, and that's not the goal, is to get through it, but I wanted to see, I wanted to make sure she didn't have any holes. But since it is just addition and subtraction, we're going to continue to work with fluency over the summer. This does come with a video lessons, and I do have the manipulative blocks that go with this, and there's a test book that comes with the alpha. So we did go through all those, and we used a lot of the book, but we didn't use all of it. So I'll leave it at that. I'm planning on using beta next year, but I want her to go and get on, I'm planning to use teaching textbooks for math once she gets to that point. I want her to have some practice on multiple digit addition and subtraction before I bump her up to teaching textbooks though. Because she doesn't really, other than adding tens, she doesn't have a lot of experience with addition and subtraction. But this is very cut and dried. It's very plain, simple, no frills. but she did great on this, and she's good on it. So in addition to this, I did get the Kuman Telling Time and First Book of Money. She's made it all the way through the Telling Time book, and we've got some games and some online activities that she does with Telling Time. So she finished that, and then over the summer she's going to work on counting coins. So I did start her on abcya.com on learning coins and practicing adding them. So that's a great website that I've used. And then we also have a subscription to Math Seeds, and she does probably 2 lessons a week in Math Seeds, and Reading Eggs. It's kind of a combo subscription, and both of my girls are on it, and they both use Reading Eggs and Math Seeds. So they do enjoy that. But we finished that. We're going to do counting coins and continue working on money and time. And then next year I'm also going to add some graphing stuff, because when we took our test at the end of the year, there was graphing questions on it that were not covered in any of these. So luckily I think she did pretty good on them from what I could tell. But I am going to, make sure I work on graphing with her, because I kind of forgot all about it. Okay, science and social studies. So first off, science. Again, I had bought Apologia Astronomy, the junior notebooking for my daughter to do in first grade, but because we only had half a year and I didn't want to get halfway through it and spend half of next year on it before I could start a new one, I just pushed it. We're going to do it next year. So this year I did have these Usborne books, and so we started going through these. And so these are like lift the flat books, and so they've got little questions and answers. So it talks about evaporation. So this one's all about what makes it rain, when do rainbows appear, how hot is the sun, why does lightning flash and thunder rumble, where does the wind come from. So every week, like on Thursday, we would read this, because I did social studies Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I did science on Thursdays and Fridays. So on Thursdays we would read one of these and go through just one page and go through all the questions and talk about it. And then on Friday I usually found a Magic School Bus video, and on Fridays while we were eating lunch we would watch the Magic School Bus video that went along with what we had talked about the day before, and talk about how it correlated and what we learned. So, and for a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, I felt like that was fine, considering I was just making sure we got some stuff in for the end of the year. So then once we finished that, because there was only so many pages for so many weeks out of that one, we did Usborne Look Inside Your Body. And this is another lift the flap. And so like that, it's got one flap there. Well, then it's got another flap, and then it's got 1, 2, 3 more flaps inside of that. So tons of information. So we would do a page, and then we would watch a video on it, and then we would do a page. Like there's 2 or 3 videos I think on the digestive system, and then we talked about like this one, staying alive. We talked about lungs and heart and all that. We talked about the circulatory system and the bones and your muscles and your brain, how your brain works, your senses. We talked about germs. I think we did one week, we talked about germs, growing and healing, and then just facts. So there was a ton of information in these books. So my plan is for my youngest next year, I'm going to get probably 2 more of these different topics, and that's probably what I'll do with her. I also have, when I talk about her kindergarten, I've got one that's Our World, and so geography wise, she and I are going to sit down and go through that, because I think she'll enjoy that. Now, so that was what we did for science. For geography, we did beginning geography, and my daughter had already started this before January, so we just went through. It's got map skills, and then it's got landforms and bodies of water, and then it has, there's the review, it's got a book she got to make and some games that we cut out, and then it goes through continents and oceans, and we're still working on continents and oceans, and I am going to make her finish that before summer is officially here. Technically, we were done the Friday before Memorial Day, but we took last week off because we do a 6 week on and then 1 week off. So last week was our week off. So this week we're going to pick back up and finish the 4 lessons in the reading and finish this geography book, because she doesn't have maybe like 4 or 5 more pages left to do in this one. So, and she does enjoy this. So I will use this again for my younger one when she gets in 1st grade. Now, this is the other one I started. Story of the World, Volume 1. Now, I'm going to wait for my youngest to get big enough, and we're going to do the history of my family together. So we did not do that part. And then there's the timeline. So we did start this. We worked through this. My daughter was not a fan. She did not find it very interesting. We made it through, I think, about 14 chapters. There's 40 chapters altogether. So we did go through about chapter 14, and then I just kind of stopped. And then we talked about, we would listen to the chapters because I have it on CD. And so anytime on Tuesdays we go to gymnastics, and so we would listen to a chapter on the way to gymnastics. But we just kind of, I didn't make her continue with this because I do want her to do it, but she just doesn't, she didn't really have the attention span or the interest in it to do it this year. So we'll pick back up with this later. One other thing, and I don't have it right here with me, is we also used first language lessons, and I thought of that because it's the Well Trained Mind. It's the same company. We did first language lessons, volume 1 for language. And so while we were doing that with my 1st grader, my 4-year-old would memorize the poems with us. It was so funny because, you know, she didn't practice them, but just from listening to us, she could tell him right back. Like when my husband would come home, she would go down there and recite it for him, and you know, he had no idea that she hadn't practiced it, but she memorized it just from listening to us. So it just amazed me on how much she picked up on just from what we did. For extra, we also, I have a lot of thinking skills activities we have used, and I may do a separate video on that. But I did start her on mind benders, like logic problems. I love logic problems, and I enjoy doing them myself, but I thought it was good for her just for the deductive reasoning skills. And, you know, well, if this can't work, then this can work, or if this, you know, why do certain things work and others won't? So I did start on this. We'll finish it next year, and then we'll go ahead and move on up to level 3. And then I wanted to show you the her checklist, and I got this from, I may have to link it in the description. I found this on YouTube, and I cannot remember her name, but she created this, and I got it from her, and I will give her credit in the description box. But she made a weekly checklist, and she has one, and it's editable. So I went in and just filled in all my boxes, and so that's what we used. I used washi tape some, and then I ended up just using colored pencil and coloring in the boxes we didn't use. And then we would just go through and check it off. And so, like, we had a dentist appointment on Monday here, and so I put in what we absolutely had to do, and then I marked the rest of it off. We do school for 5 days, but we do 6 weeks that we do school, and then we take a week off, and that still left us with all of June and July off, and 2 weeks at Christmas. We went to Disney for a week in November. Well, no, because we were still in school in November. But it worked out really well, and you can kind of change around your weeks, you know, if something comes up. So I really like this. I will give her credit in the comments if you want to get on there and find this. And I sent the PDF to Office Depot. Yes. And they printed it and bound it for me, and that was great. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them if you just want to leave those in the comments. Thanks.